Hello everyone, I'm EFC. This is Byline TV. Hello everyone, welcome to This is Byline TV. Hello, apologies everyone, sorry for that. Let me do that again. I'm EFC. This is Byline TV. Welcome to a live stream featuring the Byline, Alex Goldberg himself, and of course Joe Tweedy. How are you guys doing? How are you feeling?
Oh, good. Nini, how are you? How are you, Joe? This is quite a boring time to be a Chelsea fan, huh?
It's not the best right now.
Yeah, I have to agree. Yeah, it's another quiet week in the life of a Chelsea supporter.
Very quiet.
Yeah, but you guys, for today's live stream, we're going to be discussing what we feel are the solutions that Sarri needs to take on board to see us through this. And at the end, we're going to talk about whether Sarri is the right guy to take us forward in the future. So, Alex, I know it's a pretty fully loaded question, but obviously you've been quite vocal about Sarri and some of the grievances you have with him. If you want to give people a refresher for people who don't know your opinions right now.
Yeah, sure, but it's important to preface all of this by saying I'm not saying to sack Sarri. I will not write #Sarri out on Twitter. I'm not going to do that because I think the #1 problem with Chelsea is how continuously they sack their manager. The manager carousel is my biggest problem right now with Chelsea. So I'm not saying to sack Sarri, but that doesn't mean that I also don't have massive problems now with Maurizio Sarri. So, I mean, my main gripe with Sarri, I think, is many people's main gripe. It's his consistent just beating over the same thing over and over and over, meaning the players and the tactics, the substitutions, and the lack of in-game tactics. Everything he's doing is exactly the same. And sure, to a certain extent, he needs to continuously preach his football and play his formation. But he is showing absolutely no flexibility with any phase of being a football manager. So, his selections, his team 11s are mind-boggling. His substitutions are illogical. His in-game tactics don't exist. And everything he's saying about them is just, I'm trying to play my football. And he's really saying the same things in his press conferences as well. So I'm just seeing absolutely no flexibility from him as a manager or even a professional. And, I'm not saying this at all to say, I'm more knowledgeable on Sarri than others, but I do a Serie A podcast. I've been doing it for a few years now. I knew what we were getting with Maurizio Sarri. I was excited to get Maurizio Sarri because I wanted attacking football. But that's not to say I didn't know there were flaws of Maurizio Sarri. And I would say those flaws, his rigidity, sometimes how he handles certain bad situations, I would say those have been coming to the forefront. He's been very authentic, unfortunately. He's been exactly as advertised, but probably multiplied now. And I would just say the negatives are really starting to overtake the positives. And Chelsea fans have a right to be frustrated. I'm not going to necessarily disagree with people saying Sarri out. However, I'm not saying it because sacking a manager is a lot easier than replacing one.
Fair enough. Fair point. Joe, your thoughts and opinions?
Yeah, I mean, I think Alex sums up pretty neatly the general kind of gripes that I have with Sarri, but I think really it's I don't know if it's a refusal. I mean, the thing is, I don't want to class him as arrogant because I don't think he comes across that way. I don't think he's particularly stupid either. He's not sort of idiotic manager, but there is some sort of stubborn refusal to kind of acknowledge that the Premier League is a different beast to Serie A. It's a different beast to most leagues, and this kind of refusal to adapt, make any kind of small tactical changes to the way he plays. And it doesn't have to be a massive departure from playing this kind of vertical passing, attacking football. That is still definitely a concept that can work. But the execution of getting from plan A, plan A being sort of the Sarri Mourinho style, the Conte Mourinho style, moving to kind of plan B, which is the Sarri style. I think he's trying to do it too quickly. And I think you can definitely get to a position where you can play, as Alex says, this sort of really sort of attractive brand of attacking football.
Yeah.
But it has to come with some caveats. Even Guardiola, who pretty much has triggered a generation of managers who will most likely try and copy his playing style for the next 10, 15, 20 years. He adapted his system once he got to the Premier League. Okay, he adapted it at Bayern post-Barcelona, but he adapted it even further at Man City, and that's arguably probably one of the greatest football coaches that's ever lived. And I think maybe Sarri's refusal to try and particularly with me, it's the lack of the protection of the back four. And I know this is something that you and I have spoken about before, but I can't remember a Chelsea team conceding so many one-on-ones. And don't get me wrong, I'm not particularly high on the talent in the back four. I don't think our fullbacks are particularly great.
Yeah.
I'm not even too enthusiastic about how good our centre-backs are. But you've got to give them some protection. I mean, even the best back four in the world, if they're on the end of 5, 6, 7 one-on-ones a game, they're going to get beat once or twice, and that's going to lead to chances. So that for me, that's the one thing that I'm really kind of disappointed in, is that he hasn't grasped the fact that you don't have the time. The transitions in the Premier League are much quicker. Even very, very basic average teams can counter-attack effectively. And we seem to be getting caught out, not just against City and other teams where we've had some disappointing results, but Wolves and Bournemouth and some of these games where we've had so much of the ball, but we're just getting down on the counter because we've got so many men forward. So it's that for me. It's that, I don't know if it's a refusal or a reluctance, or maybe it's just blind faith in his system, but I want to see. I wanted to see some adaptation to the Premier League, and I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, but I've got a little bit of a theory now. You guys hear this? I'm thinking, obviously, we know that Sarri said that he took advice on board from Pep, talking about the fact that you stick with the core 14 players. Now, of course, he's first coming into the club. He's working with these guys immediately. He knows who his 14 are going to be. And we spoke about the fact beforehand that it's as if everyone's really overrated the ability of the players. I think everyone mistook it and got it wrong. And I think as the season's gone on, once it's got to the crunch time around, December, winter periods, the real ability is coming out now. And I think that it's hard for Sarri to make a lot of drastic changes because the other guys aren't part of that 14, aren't really well versed in the system just yet. And I think maybe that's why he's not been as rotating as much, really involving the rest of the squad, because he's at that situation where he's realised, crap, there's guys in the first team who I thought were good enough, who won, guys like Alonso, for example. Now it's hard for me to introduce guys like Emerson, and maybe Sarri's slowly introducing someone like Emerson into the team to get him up to speed with things, because he hasn't really been part of that core 14. But that's just like my little theory.
My thing though is these guys are in training. I mean, these guys are in training, and it's not like they're playing for the youth team, the academy team, where they're having a whole different philosophy. They don't play the same formation. They don't obviously play the same type of football. These guys are in training with Maurizio Sarri, and they are getting starts occasionally in a Europa League game, an FA Cup game. So, yeah, I do understand Pep Guardiola's advice, focusing on a core of 14 players in your first year in the Premier League. However, that doesn't mean it needs to be the oldest 14 players. It doesn't mean it needs to be the first 14 players that Maurizio Sarri saw in preseason, because, by the way, the one who's been excluded from that is Callum Hudson-Odoi. So, to your theory, I'm not totally against your theory, but you could argue that Callum Hudson-Odoi was starting to learn Maurizio Sarri's system just as well as anyone to start. He had all the time in preseason, but then obviously the logic is just a little off. So, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but not like he's been completely consistent with that theory. And to harp on something that Joe said, and I totally agree, is the protection for the back four. This is where I wonder, what does Maurizio Sarri do when a game starts? Because I already don't like his starting 11s, but really, he could just give his bad starting 11 and he could go home, because he doesn't do anything once the game starts, meaning we know he's not going to change the 4-3-3 to start. We both know that. All three of us know that, right? So how about being able to at least switch in-game to, say, a 4-2-3-1? Maurizio Sarri says Conte needs to drop deeper with Jorginho when defending. And we all agree, Conte's got to do that. He's got to help protect the back four. We know that. So why not actually say in training, okay, a 4-2-3-1 is what we're going to have when we're defending the ball, or a 4-2-3-1 is something that we can switch to in-game. Kevin De Bruyne said a little while back that they really only spent about 15 minutes with Pep Guardiola practicing tactics, but some of that is literally being able to learn how to switch between 4 or 5 different formations. Maurizio Sarri can't be bothered with that. So you're going to continue to see the defense totally exposed and everybody totally clueless, because there's only one way of football for the whole 90 minutes, and that is maddening. So, yeah, needing to get back to what you said, is like, yeah, maybe the regular starters, he thought, okay, I have to focus on them because my football is complex and it's going to take a while. Now he's realizing that, oh, crap, they're not good enough. But at this point, when push comes to shove, you have to start integrating the players that are clearly good enough, or at least a fresh face. And his refusal to do that is absolutely maddening. It's stubborn. And my fear is he is too full of pride. He had this problem at Napoli. He is too full of pride to listen to anybody else but himself.
Damn. I don't know. I mean, I was thinking about that pride aspect when it comes to Sarri. I'm thinking, though, if you're going to manage a big team and a big squad with personalities, you need to have that arrogance to you. You have to. If you're coming across as weak and no convictions behind your system or your tactics, how can the players really buy on board with that? So, Sarri, he's had his methods. They've been successful. I think that it's a successful system, but I think there's so many issues that, come together that's causing this current crisis right now. The board have to take responsibility. The lack of planning, from like the times when Mourinho got sacked and we sold all our best players and the whole project we had at the time just amounted to nothing. I think that Sarri has just taken on board like the culmination of all of the bad aspects of the club over the past few years. And I think that this is why he deserves more patience and more time. He's spiking with a squad where it's not ideal right now. He's trying to do the best he can do, but I think that right now, with the club we're in, the situation we might be having with a potential transfer ban, and we don't know if Hazard's going to stay or Hudson-Odoi is going to stay. It's a crisis. Who's going to come and take over from that? And I think now is the time to stick with Sarri. And I think that we as a club need to humble ourselves and realise we're not as good. It's going to take us longer to get back to where we want to get back to. And listen, we're not going to spend hundreds of millions in the transfer market. That's the only way now to get back into being a big club, is to spend like crazy. We're not going to do that. So the only way to get back there is to have a project, have a plan. And I think that starts with Sarri, and in the future, who knows what happens with it.
Yeah, I'll let Joe take that.
Yeah.
See, I mean, the issue being, and I think this is the issue, and there's a number of issues with the club structure at the moment, is that I think what we've seen this season is Sarri originally came to the club, and his way of dealing with the transfer market was, I essentially don't need to use it, I can coach and change players.
Yeah.
I think what we've seen now, we have enough data, we have enough evidence at our kind of fingertips to suggest that that's not the case. He can't make Marcos Alonso and Azpilicueta marauding fullbacks. He can't convert the midfield into what he had in Napoli. He can't convert Eden Hazard into Mertens. I mean, it's not going to happen. And that, for me, that's, if you take that as a fact, and I believe at the moment, looking at what he's doing, that is the case. That the only way that we evolve under Sarri is, as you say, is going into the market and spending an awful lot of money.
Yeah.
We can't, again, going back to Pep Guardiola, this is a guy who said we needed 10 new players. And that was only a couple of years ago if he wanted to coach Chelsea. And I don't think he meant 10 new squad players. I think he probably meant 10 new starters.
Yeah.
So, looking at that, I mean, I do genuinely feel that, that there's enough evidence on the table now to suggest that, okay, Sarri's system may work. It might not, even with the investment, but it needed the investment in the summer beyond two players to make things easier on himself. And then I think going forward again, looking at a potential transfer ban, this is a guy who is not particularly showing any kind of let's say favour or real creating any real opportunities for our younger players. And if we are coming to the fact where we have a ban and we have to rely on the academy, I'm not wholly trusting that this is the man who's going to take Ethan Ampadu and Hudson-Odoi and Loftus-Cheek and maybe Reece James and Mount and all of these young guys we've got coming into sort of their own and make them into players who are going to be playing every single week. Because I just don't have that level of trust in him at the moment. We've seen with Hudson-Odoi, Bayern were interested in him, he started playing. Transfer window shuts, he's not been anywhere near the pitch. And that's primarily, even then, you're looking at the two guys ahead of him. Even if we're saying he's playing on the right wing, they've both been so poor. It's not just a question of age and Zola's comments about him being near the first team, etc. He legitimately should be playing because of his ability. And those ahead of him are not playing particularly well. And the fact Sarri is not, he's not choosing him, that's on him as a manager. So, yes, I'm very much, for having the club having a long-term strategy. I think the point you make about, the sort of disjointed squad comes from the fact that we change managers and what they want every single summer. But I think you have to do it with the right manager, and I don't think, from what I've seen so far on Sarri, like, bear in mind, I was hugely in favour of getting him in the summer.
Yeah.
I don't think what we've seen this season, for me, he is the forward-thinking, you know, attack-minded kind of guru that I personally maybe thought he was in the summer. I don't think he's that guy. So, it's a question of, do we have 500, 600, 700 million pounds to spend on players in the summer? You and I know that that's not going to be the case. And I think that's what he needs to kind of get the team sort of to a level that he can coach them. And unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be the case.
Damn. Damn. Sarri's lost a lot of love recently.
I'm just trying to be logical. You know, I mean, I think
exactly. No, you're right.
You know what? I wanted to just branch off of something Joe just said. And Nina, I agree with you in terms of, like, Chelsea have to back their managers better, and because there really is no good other plan besides Sarri right now, I mean, kind of have to keep Sarri unless they have somebody in mind we don't know about. However, both can kind of be true in terms of we can kind of need to keep Sarri just because we need to finally back the manager, but at the same time, we can also now start to question if he really is the right guy. Because think about it like this. Joe brings up Reece James, right? So let's say Reece James, maybe because of a transfer ban, is held back at Chelsea. He gets the opportunity to be back up next year. Let's just play a hypothetical. So we get our wish. Reece James is part of the Chelsea first team. Now, let's say it's Azpilicueta that is ahead of him, okay? So next year, Azpilicueta is hopefully not Marcos Alonso bad, and, you know, he hasn't been great this season either, but let's just say he's bad next season. What have we seen from Maurizio Sarri makes us think that Reece James would ever get a chance? He would keep, at this point, even if we give him the tools he wants in the transfer market, even say, let's just say Christian Pulisic also. Let's say that was for Maurizio Sarri, right? Let's say, you know, Maurizio Sarri thinks he can turn Pulisic into a Jose Callejon or just someone of that ilk, okay? Or just somebody they can use in a system. But let's say Callum Hudson-Odoi is still here, and Callum Hudson-Odoi is technically a backup to Christian Pulisic. What have we seen this year from Maurizio Sarri makes us think that all of a sudden Pulisic would hit the bench and Callum Hudson-Odoi would get the starts, or someone in Callum Hudson-Odoi's position. We haven't seen anything from Maurizio Sarri, at least lately, that makes us think that if we backed him, and I'm still, I guess, overall wanting to back him, but if we backed him, went and got himself, he wants El Said, I guess it's Husai from Napoli. I've always said Nisaj, but I guess it's Husai. Let's say we go get him, that player, right? And he then starts and he's not good. There's no way Sarri will bench him because that's his boy, just like Jorginho. There's no way he will then bench him for the favorable backup or the deserving youth.
I mean, of course, I'm hearing that. I mean, of course, I think for me personally, though, I need to give it a bit more time. I don't know if Sarri has that time right now, but I want to give him a few more games just to really, like, ascertain, like, is there, like, reasoning behind some of these decisions, or is it just pure stubbornness and, you know, trying to, not really get into politics and just really doing, like, a pretty old man's job of things, you know? But it's disappointing. I remember in the summer, we were very hopeful about how things were going to be and turn out. Even though Sarri has to take criticism, I mean, I agree with all you guys. The team selection right now, it doesn't make sense. I keep stressing, I don't like the fact that when players are decent or, do well, they're not allowed to build momentum, which doesn't make any sense to me, especially when they're playing better than other players. I think he needs to get over that. I really don't understand it. And I think that he needs to really look at what Pep and what Klopp did. I'll give an example about the fullback situation. You guys know, for me, I think that, in football games, tactics plays a big part in regards to why, teams don't do as well. And I think for us, one of our tactical weaknesses is our wide play. It's one of the worst in the league. It's really 100%. Not good. Nothing comes from it. We don't have the fullbacks that support the play, have the pace, and look at how we can see goals. It's on the transition every single time. No one gets back in position. The midfielders don't follow runners. They get attracted to the ball because they don't press quickly enough. It happens, and I think I'm bringing up this example of Klopp and Pep Guardiola. Look at how they use their fullbacks. Klopp was experimenting with Marino and Milners and Kleins. He realised very quickly these people aren't that good. And that was when Liverpool were very porous at the back, again on the transition, because the fullbacks weren't very good down the flanks. Look at Man City in Pep's first season when he was struggling with even though guys like Callum, technically one of the best fullbacks, physically he doesn't have the pace anymore. Clichy, Sanya, Zabaleta, old. How did Man City concede every single time? On the transition. Now, what did both managers do to help with that? Well, Pep's solution, got the investment from his club, 150 million. Mendy got that injury. And what did he do? He tinkered with things. 2 midfielders become fullbacks. And this is one of the big reasons because, you know, it's not as if, you know, people are making it sound like man marking someone like a Jorginho player is a new thing. I mean, people were doing that to Fernandinho, but as you know, they showed against us, Fernandinho just creates a space for the pass to get switched, you know, across play and stuff like that. And then this is why their fullbacks clock so many passes during a game. And they had, you know, that was Pep's solution. And for Jurgen Klopp, what did he do? He looked towards the squads and the academy. You know, Trevor Arnold comes back. Gomez plays a more prominent part. And then since the introduction, you know, they signed someone like a Robertson, one of the best bargains recently this decade in the Premier League. And now look, that's just how both teams covered that key area, and they improved because they kept the ball longer, and then their wide play was much better and more efficient. They were getting through compact teams even more because you need that with fullbacks like that. And most importantly, they weren't conceding so many counter-attacks, and they were solid defensively, and this is the key area. But again, you guys are right when it comes to Maurizio Sarri. If we've got a Reece James or Olaena or whoever, is he going to use them? You know, because really, I feel like this squad and the Lone Army, we have solutions to issues we have in the squad right now that will cost us nothing. But I agree with you guys now. Is Sarri the right guy that's going to utilise them?
Yeah, I mean, the analysis on the wide players is spot on there. And I think particularly, you know, the fullback position is becoming in modern football, and this is really regardless of system now. You know, in a back four, you need to be a total footballer. You need to be a complete footballer at left back or right back. And you know, I look at players like Marcelo and David, you know, Alaba, and I mean, there's a number of players now who I see them as having like a midfielder skill set, but they play at fullback. You know, they're comfortable on the ball. They can play 1-2s, give and goes. Yeah. They have the athletic capacity to get up and down all game. You know, they have to be probably the fittest players on the pitch. Exactly. They have to have, you know, be aggressive. I mean, you know, Reece James is a really good example in the Championship of that style of player. And it's really difficult to play a system such as Sarri's without having that player there. And I think particularly when, you know, looking at Jorginho, and he often gesticulates, you know, he's kind of wildly pointing at people. And
every time.
You know, it's a lot of it is to do with the fact that Azpilicueta and Alonso are not, you know, 10, 15, 20 metres further up the pitch to create the angle for the pass. You know, and I just think that is unquestionably one of the areas that the club should have addressed in January. They should have addressed it in the summer. I mean, but now we have two 5-year contracts for these players. So it looks like that's going to be the future of our fullback position. But no, we haven't evolved as a club. We haven't really taken this trend. And if you used to think, you know, going back traditionally, you know, I mean, going right back to Mourinho's first stint here, he was one of the first people to kind of reintroduce the 4-3-3. Play with a holding midfielder, play with two sort of attacking central midfielders either side of him, and we'd always be a little bit ahead of the curve with some of these tactics, you know. And I think now, you know, the last sort of 4 or 5 years, we've fallen behind the curve with some of the players that we've signed. They're so, I don't want to say antiquated and outdated, but you know, Azpilicueta, I love him. He's a solid guy. You know, he's one of the best players in history, but he is a dependable right back. I mean, that would be how you describe him. And Alonso, I mean, I'm not going to get into analysing him too heavily because I generally think he shouldn't be anywhere near the team. But, you know, I mean, and these are the guys who start every week. You know, they start every week, every level of opposition, you know, and you get the same performance out of them. I mean, it's a miracle when one of them puts a good cross into the box. You're almost shocked. Yeah. You know, I think Azpilicueta put a ball in against United, and I was like, you know, where is that? Yeah. Where's that come from? Rather than, you know, expecting to see it every game. But you know, it's one of the positions in the team, and again, this isn't even really applicable to Sarri. This is more the club moving forward under any manager. You know, you need better players in those positions. Exactly. Look at what Alexander-Arnold gives to Liverpool, and as you say, is it Robinson, the left back? They give them basically almost like two box-to-box players out wide. You know, it lets your forwards kind of tuck in, but they don't have to be concerned about maintaining the width. It means your midfielders also don't have to cover so much ground defensively. Exactly. It's such a huge bonus. But as you say, you know, it's difficult to really have that sort of attacking style of football and that attacking mentality when both your fullbacks are very, very limited players. And one of our favourite conversations is we often talk about many years ago when Ivanovic was playing right back, how he wouldn't actually get a game in the academy team because he wasn't really able to play the style of football that they could. And I think the same applies now. I look at Reece James, and yes, the caveat, he's playing in the Championship, absolutely fine. But the style of how he plays the position compared to Azpilicueta, it's like teletext to Google Chrome. It's such a massive difference in how they play the position, how they see the position, their ability on the ball, their vision, their touch. That everything is night and day. And yes, he's 18 and Azpilicueta's won tons more and his experience. Like, I get all the points why Azpilicueta is there, but it's a stark difference. And until something like that is sorted at the club as a base position, Sarri or anyone else, they're not really going to get too far because it is what it is. At the end of the day. Yeah,
but you guys are right in the sense that we're critiquing him for not finding solutions. I mean, I was giving the examples about Klopp and Pep. The main point I was trying to make was the creative solutions they found to issues they had in the team, and I think that Sarri has these solutions in the team. I'll always say this. I think one gripe I have against Sarri is not using Moses. Now, at the time when I used to say that, people were like, "Oh, what are you talking about? Aspie's better, this and that." But I knew what type of player Aspie was, and I've seen that Moses over the 2 seasons under Conte prove to me that he can be a very decent right back. He would have provided a lot of those qualities on the right hand side: press resistance, ability to hold the ball, beat a man if he has to. I don't know why Sarri told himself that Moses couldn't defend. I don't know why he made that decision, but again, he needs to find those creative solutions in the team. But when you think about it as well, the options he has, what are they really? I mean, he doesn't even look at Drinkwater because he's not needed for anything, because he doesn't add to any single position. And then maybe in midfield, at fullback, I mean, who's there really? I mean, Zappacosta. I mean, the fact that we're desperate to see Zappacosta sums it up, really.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I wouldn't say he really has a good option at right back. Right now, it is Cesar Azpilicueta, and we just have to wear it. And I really agree with what you guys said about the fullbacks. I mean, it's so crucial for this system. And right now, it's Aspie, but next year, like, if we could just design the team, we would all have Reece James there. We would all have Reece James there. I mean, people who don't know who Reece James is would have Reece James there. But the problem for me, obviously, is my favorite player, Marcos Alonso. Because not only did Maurizio... actually, Nina, I want to touch on this segue to what you just said. And although I don't fully agree that Victor Moses was somebody he should have tried at right back, I want to harp on something you said. You said he kind of right away decided that Moses was not for him, right? So that's also what he did with much of the squad the opposite way. He right away decided Marcos Alonso was for him. Because Marcos Alonso was the established player in the Chelsea team in that position. But the key thing is Marcos Alonso was a left wing back. Sarri just decided, well, left wing back, left back, that's close enough. He's the one who was on the Premier League Player of the Year team last year. That's my starter. So he made all of these decisions, and some of it is on Chelsea because he was hired so late into the summer. And he didn't have a normal summer, World Cup summer. So
barely a preseason, as well.
So he just decided everything, and once it was set in stone, he took that Pep advice, and he was like, okay, those are my 14. That's my starting 11. Boom. No changes. It's my first year. That's when I should probably be changing things a little bit more than usual, at least a little bit within, 12 to 15 players. But no, he decided, Moses, I don't want. Drinkwater, I don't want. Cahill, I don't want. Some of those I agree with. But then on the flip, Marcos Alonso, I want. And David Luiz, whatever. David Luiz was the rightful starter to begin with, but he decided David Luiz and Rudiger, I will never change. I will never change David Luiz and Rudiger. Andreas Christensen has 2 Premier League.
And Alex, that was the point I was trying to make with my little theory. Obviously, you said that he's taken on board Pep's advice of working with a core of 14 players. He came in immediately, told himself mentally, okay, these are the 14. He put so much energy into them. I'm not saying that, of course, the other players aren't going to play with the the youth team, of course not. But they're not playing together, and that's the most important thing. You have to build those relationships on the pitch. You can't just slot in and expect to just play instantly well. And I think he's got to that point where, you know, a lot of these guys, because, you know, but Sarri, you know, one thing I'm always stressing all the time is the pressing, you know what I mean? It's still not good enough. And I think that's been the thing that's really annoying Sarri the most. And I think that's why sometimes, you know, he makes the selections he does, because he's thinking, well, out of everyone in the squad, these guys, hopefully they can work hard enough, you know. And I think because, you know, Joe, we were talking about, you know, Sarri and his training methods, you know, during the summer. Mention the fact that, you know, he focuses on a lot of positional play. Like, if you could maybe let the stream know more about that.
Yeah, so I mean, generally, a lot of kind of modern coaches take this approach where they kind of dictate positions based on where the ball is and different states of play. I think often, you know, it's also something that Conte used, to be fair. I mean, you know, for the differences in the actual way they played the game, the coaching methods of Conte and Sarri are incredibly similar. You know, if the ball is on the left-hand side in a certain part of the pitch, you know, I want Jorginho to be here, Kante to be here, and whoever's playing left central midfield, you know, they need to be there. And this kind of almost like a chessboard, you know, sort of moving pieces around as the ball moves. That's sort of generally sort of how the structure of Sarri's team plays. I think often, you know, it's something that I think when you have, let's say better players, you know, players who play in this sort of system, because they have a higher football intelligence, because they have a higher just general ability in terms of what they can do on the ball. You know, that predictability that we see and we saw under Conte, I mean, we're seeing sort of under Sarri as well, these sort of set patterns of play. Yeah. If you've maybe got 2 or 3 options because you're maybe a limited footballer and you're kind of very much relying on the system and the structure, instructions to kind of see you through, you know, if you can take that from 3 things to, let's say, 10, all of a sudden that's an element of unpredictability. You know, I think, you know, it's very difficult for anyone to kind of guess what you're going to do. You know, maybe with a 10% of effectiveness, if you can guess 1 in 3 what's going to happen, you know, for a 90-minute game, you're probably going to figure out kind of obviously the sort of set patterns very, very quickly. But with better players, you know, obviously, I mean, again, this applies to any coaching sort of methodology, but better players obviously makes things easier. But I think what we're seeing under Sarri is where we have, I don't want to say limited players. I think we've got some neat and tidy footballers, but, you know, in the fullback areas, maybe in central midfield, definitely kind of for what we've seen up front this season. You know, we're very limited in sort of the movements we have, the kind of the patterns of play that we're trying to create. And I think actually for players maybe like Eden Hazard, where you've got a clear, let's say, a clear difference in ability between a single player and the rest of his team. Hazard maybe wants to play a little bit more off script. He wants to kind of drift and do his own thing. But again, you know, if you pick the ball up and you're expecting Hazard to be in, you know, quadrant A2 of the pitch or you know whatever it is, and he's, you know, he's playing in the number 10 role because you know, you're Ross Barkley. It was kind of a little bit to, I don't know if you saw him try and do the dummy against United where he let the ball go through his legs and it literally went to a United player. A lot of that comes from Barkley expecting someone to be behind him because of the work that they're doing. So, you know, I think often at times, particularly with Hazard, you know, you see him adopt these positions and he's in space, but no one can find him because they're not expecting him to be there. So I think in some respect, it's working a little bit against some of the better players because, yes, it's great to support the players who are not necessarily as good technically or don't have the footballing intelligence to maybe play the system as fluidly as Napoli did. But when you kind of have this mishmash of players' abilities and intelligences, it becomes a little bit predictable. I think that's what we're seeing at the moment with Sarri, that we've become an incredibly predictable team to play against, even to the extent that you have Chelsea bloggers and even people who don't have any coaching knowledge or any coaching knowledge being able to, you know, deconstruct our game plan before we've even kicked the ball. Yeah.
But I mean, in one respect, though, playing this style of football, you know, just to be devil's advocate, do the players not take even more responsibility because they have to, you know, improvise a lot more, you know?
I mean, it depends on the player. I mean, again, would you want Ross Barkley playing off the cuff or would you want him trying to play to some sort of structure? I mean, this is kind of the balancing point because I feel Barkley's a very good example that at the beginning of the season, maybe with less instructions, he looked a better player. But as he's got more and more coaching, he's actually regressed. So he's got more instructions. Maybe he understands the system more and he's overthinking when he actually plays. Yeah. So there's a very, very fine balance between...
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it brings that to a point. Remember when we did the thing with Jalaba? Yeah. He mentioned, he was speaking about that coaching, you know, from Sarri for a bit as well. And I think he mentioned the fact that it was quite difficult to get to terms with. It took him quite a while to really understand where to be here and there, etc., etc. I think obviously, I think this system is like a fine wine. I think, you know, over time, if you've got like if you've got really fancy grapes you're using, and it ferments really well over time, it can be a really nice drink. But I mean, I don't know if that can happen with us right now. Depending, I don't know. It's actually, could it? I mean, the things that might be happening in the future, maybe the club can't really be in a predicament where you're paying off 2 managers and looking for. Actually, if Laurent Blanc's going to be free, then, you know, I guess then that circumvents everything. But still, it's a situation you don't want to be in. You know, paying off this person and that person. But yeah, I just lost my train of thought then for a second. Sorry, you guys.
It's a stressful week.
Yeah, it's been a long week. It's been a long day, especially long day. But you know, yeah, I've actually got a little bit of a theory on Eden Hazard, but I'll tell you guys that afterwards, like what my theory on Hazard is. But I think, you know, it's time to wrap up this stream pretty soon. Obviously, yeah, some closing words and some final thoughts. You know, starting with you, Alex. Do you think Sarri can fix this? And also let us know, how would you what obviously changes would you make to fix things now?
So I'll start with the first one. Do I think Sarri can fix it? I mean, I think he can. I think he can, because if there's one thing he knows, it's his football, which he just loves to say, my football. And he's going to keep doing it. So you got to think, if he's going to be lenient at all, if he's going to at all make one change, maybe not all the changes we want to see, then maybe he can fix it. Because, guys, we got to remember, at some point in time this season, we were actually playing attractive football. I mean, it just feels like that was never the case. Now, some of it may be the league adapted, but some of it is still there, and it's just not working for many, many reasons. So I do think he can fix it. Will he? That's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother question that I'm not even going to answer. What changes would I make? I mean, I would make the obvious changes right now. I would make Emerson for Alonso. I don't need to spiel about that anymore. Alonso's not a left back. I would get Andreas Christensen in there for both center backs, just constantly putting fire under the ass of David Luiz and Antonio Rudiger. And obviously, I would also get Ampadu in the mix, but that's hilarious, Alex. Dream on.
But let me just say something for a second. I mean, I never really personally thought the main issues with Rudiger or our defenders really when it comes to conceding goals. I mean, what's Ampadu really going to add that Christensen, Luiz and Rudiger don't have? I don't think he's at that stage right now.
Better hair.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, Fair point.
It is. For me, it's a default thing. So for me, I mean, you and I will always see different on David Luiz. For me, he has become way too casual in defending. I once again think he's a good player, but I just don't really trust him in a center.
But let me just ask you one thing quickly. Obviously, you know, most of the goals we concede on the against the transition. I mean, it does become harder to defend when you're like running back to stop a counter attack. I mean, I'm not an expert in coaching and stuff, but like Joe, I mean, am I right or like am I wrong? Like, because people normally say, yeah, sorry, man.
No, it's all right. I just want to say, like, one thing, for instance, like yesterday on Manchester United's second goal, multiple people to blame. Marcos Alonso was late. Multiple people were to blame.
The midfield didn't track the runners. That's what I mean. Most times we can see.
But I just want to say what David Luiz did. I just want to say what David Luiz did.
Guys, calm down.
So, Marcos Alonso is obviously late to track Rashford's run, and he's not pacey enough anyway. So then Marcos Alonso ran towards the middle, which David Luiz knew, okay, I need to then go over to Rashford. But he took the wrong angle, and he didn't close down Marcus Rashford nearly quick enough. And obviously, if we're going to critique Rudiger for not closing down Pogba in the first goal, we have to critique David Luiz for being way too laissez-faire and lackadaisical for taking the wrong angle and then not closing down a Rashford quick enough. Now, that doesn't mean the midfield was nowhere to be found. That doesn't mean Rudiger didn't get bullied by Pogba. That doesn't mean Marcos Alonso wasn't also to blame. That doesn't mean Kepa was also
and don't forget Aspie started it by being out of position.
Yeah, but for me, it's David Luiz is too lackadaisical. Rudiger right now, by the way, and I like Rudiger, but Rudiger is somebody who gets mad after the goal is scored. But right now, Rudiger is also really not doing a whole lot to communicate. This is my whole thing with the whole defense. They're all communicating after the goal is scored. Aspie throwing up his arms. David Luiz blaming someone. Rudiger getting angry. Marcos Alonso not doing anything. He's just looking off into the stands. But nobody is communicating while the actual gameplay is happening. And the midfield, I talked about it. Conte's got to drop deeper. Jorginho's got to support better. Kovacic or wherever the LCM's got to do better. But I'm saying, you know, you were asking me the changes I would make to get back to the original question. I have to at least put Andreas Christensen in there to light a fire under Luis or Rudiger just by default, meaning none of the players really deserve to just keep getting starts, even if they're not the whole story. None of them keep deserving to get starts in this scenario without having to sit on the bench for a little bit. They just don't. So Christensen
I agree.
has to get in there.
No, I agree. For me, I've always been the advocate that Luis and Christensen are the partnership. I think I've always said Rudiger, Luis, their defensive instincts, they're too similar. I think with Christensen, you know, he's good at covering the play, you know, good on the ball. You know, he blocks passing lanes, you know, and I think his best thing is, you know, helping on that against counterattacks, because when you see him, he's able to go out wide. And how many central defenders are good at, you know, pushing out wide and, you know, defending, you know, slowing down a winger or slowing down the play. They get beat most of the time. They rush in, as we see with Rudiger and Luis, and they get beat. But with Christensen, that's not happening. And I think that, you know, that's the one thing that Sarri needs to do. I think that's one thing we definitely agree with. You know, how he's trying to sort out these solutions, just they're not making any sense and not working. I think that, you know, this reluctance to rotate to, I mean, don't even get me started. But yeah, Alex, you know, getting back to your point.
Yeah, so, I mean, the last change I would make is the obvious change. Callum Hudson-Odoi. And I just want to say really two things about that is I don't buy any of the excuses that maybe he's still not playing him because of defensive purposes or off-ball runs. Last time Callum Hudson-Odoi scored a goal, he made a run for that ball. Every time he's been in recently, he's actually making off-ball runs. David Luiz has chosen to pass to him sometimes. David Luiz, great passer. Sometimes Jorginho and Luiz have been like, okay, whatever, because they just don't want to take the risk there. But you still need to watch the game. You need to watch Hudson-Odoi. He's making the off-ball runs. He's doing what is asked. And then Maurizio Sarri defensively is saying that Callum Hudson-Odoi has grown leaps and bounds. And we know pressing is a huge part of Maurizio Sarri's system from the wingers. Callum Hudson-Odoi, when he closes down, is frightening. He's frightening when he closes down the ball. He's a much better presser than an Hazard. Obviously, Hazard is going to play because he's Hazard, and I agree with it. But Callum Hudson-Odoi is already a better presser than an Hazard. Sure, does he need to learn tactics of defense a little bit better? Yes, but that is not anywhere close to a valid reason not to play him. So we can laugh about Zappacosta being the third and final sub yesterday, which in my opinion, it was Maurizio Sarri's arrogance in that specific situation.
Yeah.
It just was. He wasn't going to listen to the fans chanting, the pundits, the reporters, everything. But whatever. We can laugh about that, but you asked me the changes I would make. Emerson for Alonso, more Christensen, and Hudson-Odoi.
I only hear facts. I'm not disagreeing with that. I think they're the guys we need to see. But yeah, I think you know, another thing with Sarri and Hudson-Odoi, you know, he made those comments in the press recently, right, about not caring about what the Chelsea fans say. Now, you know, obviously, you know, you can understand what, you know, the context of which he's saying it. You know, he feels everyone's against him, the whole world's against him. Hearing the fans, you know, like disrespecting your work and stuff like that. Yeah, nothing's going well. You know, Sarri seems like the type of character where, you know, he likes to like put two fingers up when stuff like that, when adversity comes, you know what I mean? And I think that, you know, because he's got that mentality and mindset, I think in a way he must be like punishing people and using Hudson-Odoi as the reason, because I just can't see why he's not using him. You know, he's thinking everyone's telling me use youth. No, I'm going to do it my way. You know, no one tells me what to do. I don't know. I just think that he's been a little bit self-destructive now.
I agree.
But do you agree, Joe? What do you think? Or am I just talking nonsense?
No, I mean, I think it's pretty much in line with what's going on, Nini, to be honest.
Yeah.
You look at Gianfranco Zola's... I mean, Zola lost his temper in the press conference talking about Hudson-Odoi, and that to me suggests that this pressure to play him is obviously getting to him and Sarri, because I would normally suggest Zola is a pretty calm and collected character, so there is obviously some fundamental issue behind closed doors that we are not privy to, because to see Zola react in such a decisive manner about Hudson-Odoi and make some of the statements that he did, which again I don't think were particularly useful, because as soon as you scrutinise them, take 10 minutes to do a bit of research, you can see that what he's saying is he's just waffling. So yeah, I mean, again, it just feels like it's self-sabotage at this point of view. And I think Alex mentioned it earlier on. He's got a much better handle of sort of Serie A than pretty much anyone else that you're going to be able to talk to. And Sarri's kind of stubbornness, I think, is coming to the fore here. If Hudson-Odoi wasn't part of his original core group of players, I don't think he maybe is slightly, let's say, I don't know, he resents the fact that maybe the board or the club are pushing him to play a player.
Exactly.
Which I think is something that's counting against him. But the reality is that as Alex keeps mentioning, he's not playing or he's not competing with prime Iron Robben or prime. I mean, he's not. They're not superstar players, and the way that Zola and Sarri talk about Pedro wheeling as if these guys are getting 20, 30 goals a season. They're dropping 8 out of 10s every single week. They're destroying teams rather than I mean, basically we have maybe one of them plays well every 6 or 7 games. And then the next one will get a couple of games. He'll be terrible. He gets subbed off. The one comes on, plays well. He starts. He's terrible. Gets subbed. I mean, it's a loop that we all know very well now. And the fact that Hudson-Odoi hasn't been able to kind of break into that is worrying. And I think it's one of the reasons maybe to not keep Sarri around is if you think you have any remote chance of keeping Hudson-Odoi at the club, and that's linked to playing time, then. Is that the answer to your question at the beginning of the podcast? Do you want to do everything to maybe keep potentially a generational talent, or do you want to keep the manager? I mean, it's another question that comes into it. But yeah, I completely agree. I think it's very self-destructive. I think it sends a bad message to the academy. I think it sends an incredibly terrible message to Hudson-Odoi that despite the fact we're getting smashed 6-0 by City and 4-0 by Bournemouth. I mean, you're still not good enough to get a start. Sarri's
picking the wrong fight. I mean, I don't know why he's focusing on this one. It seems a bit unnecessary. Bigger issues to sort out, I think, with the team. I mean, there's no way in hell he's happy with guys like Alonso and stuff. But I don't see why he's told himself that I'm forced to use them. Is it trying to send a message to the board saying this is why I need support? I mean, I don't know, but I think, I mean, it's weird though, even though, again, my perspective on Sarri from the start has always been, I wanted him because I want him to build the foundations of a philosophy at this club. How big I am about that, because, what's the whole point of, owning Chelsea if that's not the end goal? You know what I mean? But yeah. I lost my train of thought again. I don't know what's happening. I've had a really long day today, you guys. Really long day. My bad.
Red Bull's your friend.
Yeah, I need some energy right now. I definitely do. But yeah, as I was saying, just picking the wrong battles, it's unnecessary, and I don't know. It needs to end. But no, I was talking about, but sorry, for me, my thing's always been foundations of philosophy, and if he goes, it doesn't matter in that sense, because he would have been the guy that starts he plants the seed, because that's what we need right now. When we don't have the money, we can't compete with some of the best players in the world, and it's going to take a lot of money to reach this level again. We need smart planning right now, and to actually focus on building a project. So I always had the feeling that Sarri would be a fall guy in that sense, but you need them. You need them to start something to grow, get in the right direction. Maybe if we get this transfer ban, which I'm not really too fussed if we get it, to be honest. If we need something this drastic to force people to look towards the academy and youth, so be it. But yeah, for me, I like his football, I like his personality, I like how he started. But my thing with Sarri has always been, he's the guy that's going to plant the seed for this philosophy.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've often spoken about maybe being the guy that sets the tone and then sets it up for maybe a younger manager, either a Lampard or a Nagelsmann, one of these kind of younger managers to come in and take over. But I think that we've all maybe guessed that Sarri could maybe build a squad, would get the backing from the club. And sure, we spent a fortune on Kepa and Jorginho in the summer, but it needed much more than that, let's be completely honest. Whether he would get completely and utterly back to the tune of £300-400 million, it maybe was never going to happen. But I mean, that's really what was needed. I think what we're seeing now is maybe Sarri was the guy who took over that team. That, you know, you've got a squad that's more ready to kind of accept the sort of football that he's trying to play. But yeah, you know, I don't think that he. Well, it's tough because, you know, I like the philosophy, I like the idea, I like the end result. I think for me, it's the process of getting there which is all wrong. And, you know, you can respect the end result, you can want to have that kind of football, but it doesn't have to be, you know, in one way completely detriment to so many things going on at the club at the moment. So
yeah, exactly. So I mean, it'd be a shame if it ended for him like this, but even though I like him, I'm not that sentimental, to be honest. You know, I sound really cynical, I know, but we know what this industry's like. We know what football's about now. In a way, I don't see why people need to, you know, take things so personally and emotionally in that sense, because, you know, things just move on. But of course, I need to ask you, what implementations would you add to the team? You know, what does Sarri need to do? Like the small things just to get the team back to winning.
I mean, if we're all in agreement that he's not going to change the shape, he's not going to change. He's not going to play a 4-3-1. He's not going to do anything sort of drastic like that. The one thing that he can change, which is not a huge tactical tweak, is to balance out the number of players that we attack with and we commit ahead of the ball. Yeah. Now, if you watched a lot of the goals that we concede on the counter attack, or when we sort of generally concede chances, you'll see Jorginho, you'll see you'll see Jorginho, you'll see David Luiz, and you'll see Rudiger behind the ball. Yeah. In most cases, Azpilicueta's ahead of the ball. In most cases, Alonso is ahead of the ball. Kovacic definitely is, and we all know that Kante is now playing in the final third quite regularly. So when we lose the ball, that element of transition against someone like Palace, who've got loads of pace, or Wolves, etc., you know, they're straight onto free players straight away. So I mean, what I would like him to do is just find more balance. You know, if you're attacking on the left hand side, you don't have to send Azpilicueta and Kante ahead of the ball. Maybe bring Azpilicueta back. Maybe bring Kante sort of, you know, level with the ball, behind the ball. Just keep 4 people back at an absolute minimum. And I think you know, that's not hugely going to impact the way we play. It's not hugely going to impact the philosophy. It doesn't really, you know, detract from what he's trying to do. All it means is, in the event that the ball's turned over, if you've got Kante, say, you know, 10, 15 metres deeper, we actually have a chance of actually stopping the counter-attack. And to make a very simplistic point, the reason that Guardiola's teams rarely get caught out in possession, although he has made changes to how many men he attacks, we never seem to tactically foul. When have you seen someone just run over and just smash someone just to stop a counter-attack?
Doesn't happen.
You know, and again, it's the 2 very small things, and okay, the tactical fouling maybe goes against the principles of Sarri's philosophy, but I mean, you know, Guardiola's done it for 10 years for Barcelona, Bayern, and City. You know, I mean, David Silva is one of the dirtiest players in the Premier League, and he's you know, he's like the first man to kick someone as soon as there's a counter attack. So, you know, you look at that, you learn from that, but also, you know, you can't be that naive that you think you can commit everyone ahead of the ball bar 3 players, because you know, I mean, it's a recipe for goals in the Premier League. There's so much pace, there's so much athleticism, there's so many physical players on the counter attack. It's not like in Italy where maybe they want to reset and start possession and start playing that sort of style of football. Teams will just literally want to get as quickly to goal as possible in the Premier League, and I don't think he's really adjusted to that. So if there's one thing to change, more men behind the ball, and as cynical as it sounds, just drop kick someone as soon as they start a counter attack.
You're right, but I mean,
clear someone out.
Yeah, but 2 of the points he made, obviously, in regards to Kante and players making tactical fouls. I mean, does that come down to like the limitations of the player? Maybe like mental limitations. Like, for example, you know, if you're just like always running towards the ball and getting attracted to that, a lot of times when you give away these fouls, you know, you're doing it when it's off the ball or something, you know. Yeah. But I mean, and also with Kante, you know, Sarri saying a lot of times, Kante, I want you a bit deeper. Yeah, true. Now I'm thinking, is that not the player's responsibility? I'm sure the manager, Kante, knows what he's supposed to do, but I don't think he's supposed to be that advanced. But I kind of understand why Kante does it, because he's thinking, he understands the system, what people need to do, where they need to be. He's probably noticing that the number 8s are never actually making these runs in the box. So I know someone like Kante, with the type of player he is, I know he's taking responsibility, putting even more work in. And I think that this is what I mean in regards to the squad not having this balance. And this is what I mean when I say there's so many like different factors that's affecting everything, because those options aren't there, you know. That with the squads, the limitations, what Sarri's got, it's making things harder. But I agree with you. You know, it's something I've been thinking about too over time. Sarri must know that, yeah, it's not going to work with this current squad of players. I'm even thinking of fullbacks. I mean, guys like Reece James in and all that, they're not even here now. They're on loan, so we can't get them back. We're kind of stuck with what we have. And I'm just thinking, Sarri needs to, again, being in that pressure cooker, I don't know what it's like, but he needs to realise it's okay if I slow down the learning a bit and maybe get back into it when I have a proper pre-season, and hopefully, you know, other players are preparing for next season. I think that's how he's going to think now. I think maybe it's time to adapt a bit. You know, this team's not going to clock Sarri ball. Not with this like ridiculous run too. It's not going to happen. You know, and if it does, it'll be right at the end where teams aren't really playing with that intensity anymore. And then I think that's what this team needs. So I think it's not really going to start again until the summer. I think Sarri needs to just, you know, humble himself and just think, you know what, I'm not a failure because these guys can't play it straight away. I just don't have the ingredients to do what I need to do, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if we were looking for my ideal solution until the summer, you know, it's very unlikely to take place. But I mean, if you're looking at the usual back four, I would take Jorginho out of the firing line for at least for the next couple of games. Give him, because I mean, it's not so much that I think his level of play has dropped. I think he also looks absolutely knackered. You know, no wind to break, and
yeah.
I think he's had a lot of mental pressure put on him as well in that position. I would go to a 4-2-3-1. I think this is something that Alex mentioned a bit earlier as well. I'd look at maybe Kante and Ampadu in there, just a bit of steel, you know. And again, I'm not really looking to play attacking football because, you know, I mean, it's about results. You know, if we're looking at getting Champions League football, it's, you know, we have to make a few sacrifices, and I would play Ampadu in there because I think he's just aggressive and he's going to put a foot in, and it's good. You know, he's good on the ball, but just a bit of aggression in there with Kante. Screen the back four. If Ruben gets bit, I'd chuck him in at number 10. I'd play Hazard on the left, give Hudson-Odoi 4 or 5 games on the right wing, and play Higuain up top, and just say, look, you know, we're going to play a bit on the counter attack. You know, Ruben, boss the game, get on the ball, dribble, create. Hazard, do whatever you want to do on the left. Hudson-Odoi, just go at people, and Higuain just stand in the penalty area and finish. And then just let Kante and Ampadu just boss people about. You know, it's not doesn't have to be super technical. It doesn't have to be super attacking, Sarri ball, passing concepts. It's about wins at the moment, and that would be for me a way of going about it.
Yeah, I agree. I think as we've noticed with this team, you know, they're doing much better when they play more directly. When they bypass teams and play straight to a striker. That's what we need right now.
Yeah, I agree. You know, and then, you know, if you get to the summer with, say, Sarri's still in charge, he's proven to the club that he can be flexible, that he can adapt, and maybe then they go, okay, you know, let's invest some money in this guy, let's back him in the market, you know. But it's something for Sarri, you know, unless he changes his philosophy. I don't see him making it to the end of the season, if I'm being completely honest.
If he continues down this path,
yeah, if he continues down this path, because, you know, less and less people are following him, not just the fans. You know, Nini, you'll back me up on this. You know, this is the first time I've heard fans turn on a manager. You know, before the board. You know, it's the first time. I mean, if we ignore Benitez because he was never really welcome anyway, but it's the first time I've actually heard fans properly get on a manager's back in Stamford Bridge. So, you know, he's playing a very, very dangerous game at the moment, and unless he shows some adaptations or tries something different, I can't see ending too well for him.
Yeah, I mean, of course, you know, fans can vent their frustrations. I think that I do sympathise with Sarri a lot. I think that, you know, he's like the fall guy in the sense that he's taken on board a lot of issues that have been, you know, simmering behind the scenes for a while, and this is like the culmination of things happening right now. And I think that, you know, maybe him coming here with his own, like, I'm not saying he's been arrogant, but, you know, he's very firm with his beliefs and what he wants to do. Maybe it's not the right approach, and, you know, it's a typical Chelsea situation. You know, we just can't ever get to, you know, get these things running smoothly. I mean, it's frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I agree with everything you guys just said. I was a happy listener there. You know, what Joe just suggested, that formation. Joe is suggesting for Sarri to save Chelsea's season, which is exactly what Joe should be suggesting. That you guys are spot on. Is Sarri, do you want to continue to be self-destructive, like you guys have both said, and you're totally right? Do you want to continue to be self-destructive, probably get sacked, and also not help Chelsea qualify for Champions League next year? Or do you want to save the season, your job, and then reassess in the summer? We'll see with 22.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's really annoying because, you know, I watched Napoli. Why should I call Napoli Sorry Ball?
Sorry Ball FC.
Sorry
Hey,
Ball FC.
You know what's funny? They still play about 25% sorry ball. And they're not having a better year than they were last year. They are behind their pace from last year. But Ancelotti himself, obviously, is a much more versatile manager than Maurizio Sarri. They still play a little bit of sorry ball. Maybe it's because of the personnel, and Ancelotti is also...
Exactly, it's ingrained.
This is a good point, actually. I'm not patting myself on the back. This comes from David Amoyal, who I do the Couch Lamb podcast with, is Ancelotti is also known, well, hold on, this whole team is still very similar to last year.
Yes.
I can't immediately just say to all these players, learn this new style. I have to allow some of these players to still play what they're used to, and I will slowly change things. I'll make it more my own.
But here's the thing, though. This is what I was saying earlier with my theory with him, you know, picking the squad. Let's be serious. Until winter, we were doing quite well. We were seeing a lot of promising games, the game against Man City, even Arsenal when we beat them 3-2. There was a lot of promise. You could see that the players knew where to be, where to go. All of a sudden, once we faced adversity with this new, system from opposition, we realised the players aren't good enough or versatile enough to break through that and to play through that. But I don't know. I just think that I agree with that point in the sentiment. But I do sympathise with Sarri in that sense because it was working, it was showing promise, and all of a sudden, with this new tactic, he doesn't have the solutions to get past it. That's the reality. Teams weren't playing how they were playing earlier. There was a lot more space. Jorginho wasn't getting pressed. Look how fluid the football was. We were looking really good. Since this has happened, we don't have the personnel, and I think Sarri didn't prepare for this. And I think that people say, of course, he's got to adapt very quickly, and I think because it's still quite sudden, like 2 and a bit months, it's taking him, he's finding it hard to maybe change things, maybe dumb things down a bit, do something different, because in his head he's thinking, if this was working, what's happened? I know I can fix this. And I think that's one of the mistakes he's making.
Yeah, I mean, he's used the word confused in post-press conference.
Exactly. You're right, saying it a lot.
I truly believe he is confused, and that's really concerning because, guys, I hate to make parallels to other sports, but in really every team sport, a manager or a coach has to be able to adapt. They have to be able to develop to the situation their team is in, but also to what the opposing manager and opposing team is showing them. And Maurizio Sarri just hasn't shown an ability to do that with his own team and when he sees what another team is doing.
Yeah, I hear that, but I mean, do you like get my point though? Like what I'm saying about like adversity with this new style that of tactic that opposition teams are using. They realise the team don't have the solutions to get past it, and this is why it's so successful against us right now. At the start of the season, everything was looking good. I even said in a video, like, once Christmas comes, once we get to the new year, we'll look even better. I was sadly proven wrong when it's come to that.
Well, he thought that too. I think he did think that as well.
Yeah, but
he kept saying, "Give us time. This is just the beginning."
Exactly, and I think it's because of that. That's why I do want to give him a few more games and a bit more time before I really start to have some finalities with my opinions.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, my final words are, like I said in the beginning, I am not saying sack Sarri because I don't have a plan for you if you do sack Sarri. I'm just saying it might be bad keeping Sarri, and it might be bad letting go of Sarri. Right now, Chelsea are in a really awkward spot. They're between a rock and a hard place. Yeah,
you're right. I don't know. I think for me, what Sarri needs to do is to be a bit more innovative. I mean, let's be serious. It's not as if Sarri's ever tweaked things. He was like, 4-3-1 to at Empoli, and then, at Napoli, they were like 4-3-3 for a bit. No. What were they before 4-3-3? Was it 4-2-3-1 or something? Or...
Yeah, they experiment with a 4-2-3-1.
That's what I mean. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, he's adaptable when it comes to it. But I want to see that type of innovation. I'll give you guys a theory. I'm full of theories tonight. I don't know why, but
Nini's theory hour.
Theory hour. That's what it's turning into. Nini time, theory hour time. But I'm looking at Eden Hazard. Now, for me, he's one of the most unique players like in Europe because he's his own player. He does his own thing. He can't be coached. That's what he's trying to tell everyone. I'm going to be doing my own thing. If I feel like dropping deep, I'm going to do it. If I feel like moving here, I'm going to do it. And because he's that good, managers aren't going to stop playing him, you know. I'm thinking one of the big weakness areas we have, not other than the fullbacks, the second area is that number 8 position. You know, you don't need for that position. You need someone that can get forward, break the lines, that can play people in, you know, support the play, all that type of stuff. I'm looking at Hazard's characteristics, and he reminds me of another player, like Coutinho. I think Coutinho is pretty unique in the sense that, you know, he can play out wide on the left, he can cut inside, and he's just one of those players that they're very good in holes and half spaces and all that type of stuff. What if something like crazy was to happen? I know this is like completely out of the books, but I thought let me try and, you know, think of something unique. What if Hazard was used as a number 8? And then obviously you got like Willian on the left, Hudson-Odoi on the right hand side, Higuain up front. And I'm thinking Sarri could tweak things by telling Kante, okay, you drop deeper a bit now, you know. And I'm thinking, I imagine Eden Hazard receiving the ball at the halfway line, facing the goal, with that type of freedom where he can do whatever he wants. And imagine Hazard being that guy, being the number 8. In a way, it'd be like a false cam position, whatever you want to call it, you know. So he can help support Hudson-Odoi, he can help support Willian. The connections become better then. And I think, obviously, casting minds back to when Sarri was thinking for a second, damn, Hazard could be the answer at false 9. Realise that you don't have the runners to do any of that stuff. Now, if Hazard in that sense is playing in that role in midfield, and let's say, you know, you're Alonso, you're Aspie, you need to pass to someone, for example. If your Hazard's the guy that's receiving the ball around there, that's like the position where he'll always be free, and then teams will be forced to have to deal with him, you know, because it's Eden Hazard. I think that could be like a creative solution that could add something to the team.
Yeah, I suggested in my video today actually doing that once the game was 2-0 yesterday in that game, making that switch. Fine, if you didn't want to bring Ross Barkley in, why not move Eden Hazard to the LCM role and put Hudson-Odoi in another winger at the wing position? You're suggesting that to maybe do it from the start of the game. I'm not against it. However, unfortunately, even if you were to do that, it's going to be Willian and Pedro at left wing and right wing.
But that's the thing, though. That's the thing. But I'd rather have Hudson-Odoi down the right hand side for now, because I think that with how we play, imagine Hudson-Odoi free to go 1v1 against someone. Because imagine this Hazard, wherever he goes, he commands the attention of the opposition. You know, and he's the guy that makes everything quick and happen. If he's got a Willian to play with instead of Alonso down the left hand side, I think that makes it better. And if they're linking up and that's freed up space on the right for Hudson-Odoi to go 1v1, because we know that he's better than Pedro, I think this is how, if Sarri is really desperate to get his football to work, I know it's really crazy and outside the box, but I think that's the best solution, because I'd use Ruben, but he's not, his injury concerns, you know, you can't rely on them. You just can't. And Ross and Cover, they don't add anything, you know, playing in that role. We play with a man short when it comes to breaking teams down.
Yeah, I like it. I'm just not holding my breath for it, because it goes back to, Nini, your point at the beginning of this video is Sarri decided when he took over the job what everybody's job was. And you could say, well, no, Eden Hazard did play the false 9. No, but Sarri also knew upon taking the job at some point he might try Eden Hazard at the false 9. So he decided left wing, false 9, that's what Hazard is. So he's not being innovative, and I don't think that he will be. But I like it. But I do like it.
I mean, I kind of know deep down that probably won't happen. But I don't know. I wish Sarri thought about it. I think it could really work. When we see how Hazard plays, he's most times he's central. I think if he's going to be that guy there with a free roll to drift to the left sometimes, and if Willian cuts inside, no more Alonso. And maybe that will be the reason that could help us defend counters better. Imagine if you've got Hazard doing that. Alonso, I want you to maybe tuck in field a bit more to help close down these passing lanes, so we're not exposing the counter. Because you're deep already, you should have enough of a head start where you should be, you know, closing this ball down.
Yep, and remember, this is another pride issue, though. If you remember what Maurizio Sarri said about Eden Hazard at the beginning of the year, he could score 40 goals. So if he moves him to that position, he's obviously not going to be as
but I'm hoping over time, you know, with Hazard being so vocal too in the press, that I don't know, though. It's hard to, when you're like trying to second guess someone's character and judgments, and you know what I mean. You just go down some rabbit hole. But yeah, Joe, obviously we went on some long tangent then.
I mean, the Hazard stuff interesting, because I think when you start bringing in players of his skill set into midfield, I mean, he's effectively going to play as a number 10, isn't he?
That's what I mean. Yeah, number 10.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're effectively calling for like a 4-2-3-1 shape. Drop Kante deeper.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Also, I think that is the way to go. I just can't. Sorry, doing it.
That's the annoying thing. I'm thinking. I mean, let's be serious with Eden Hazard. Once he gets older, he's going to lose that acceleration, and I see him maybe moving into a role like that in the future. You know, so that could be the. I mean, he can't be that guy that's going to get past. You know, do like 7 dribbles a game until he's like 34. You know, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
He might age like Figo though, where Figo completely lost his pace because he like 20 players.
That's what I mean. Exactly. In the holes, Hazard in the holes, not having to like run past people, but play like a Silva. That'll be fun to see.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
But yeah, I think we've basically covered everything we need to do. You know, obviously, I've got you guys, so I have been promoting your Twitter, Alex, so people obviously, if you want to help support another fellow Chelsea content creator, make sure you can see Alex Silverberg right now. Of course, he lost that bet against Mark Goldberg. If you want to explain that one.
Yeah, so I was on Mark Goldbridge's channel, The United Stand, pretty popular Manchester United personality. And I had made this bet in my defense weeks and weeks before when the tie was decided. And, just a little harmless bet. Whoever team lost, we would have to change our name to either Silverbridge for him or Silverberg for me. Thank God, only a week, so it will change back on Monday. But I'm a man of my word, so I am Alex Silverberg until this.
Fair enough. And of course, Joe released his new article today. You guys will be able to see it on your screens right now. 1 second. Boom, as you can see here. Who is really to blame for Chelsea's demise and what happens next for Abramovich and Sarri? Obviously, you guys, I recommend you read that afterwards if you want. I'm going to have a link in the description below. So just wait a few seconds after the stream and I have that sorted. But yeah, Joe, if you want to talk about that, plug that for a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think I lost a little bit of motivation to write this season because I'd really kind of invested a lot in Sarri being great and come sort of maybe the Everton game, I think it became a little bit predictable and a little bit dull. I think I would, maybe just as a casual fan observer point, right? But I think after the United game, I had a bit of a surge of motivation to write something. And, I mean, I'm pretty big on sort of football structures and strategies and sort of that sort of stuff. So a lot of it was around just trying to sort of figure out the mess. I don't think everything is entirely Maurizio Sarri's fault. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff I talk about in terms of the direction of the club, both in terms of player acquisitions, but also the academy. How we're just setting ourselves up to fail perpetually, basically, by having this sort of very short-term approach to everything. Yeah. And also just looking at the players in the squad as well. Are they good enough, to really, I suppose, to meet where Chelsea expect them to be? And I assume that's a side that challenges for the Premier League every season and gets pretty deep into the Champions League as well. Are they currently good enough? So it's a little bit sort of the triangle of doom, as I'm calling it. You've got the board, Sarri and the players, and just really a bit of an analysis on that, and also whether I think Sarri should stay, and not so much from like an emotional standpoint of the losses, but just logically, whether he should stay because of the lack of money at the club at the moment. So yeah,
you guys, as I said, if you give me a few seconds, I'm going to add that into the link in the description below. But it's been a fun stream, you guys. It's been a really good stream. Hopefully we do this again pretty soon as well. You guys, thank you for watching. I'm Nini FC. This is Byline TV. Signing out.